This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Thank you for joining us today on Daily with Doc and Becca. And today I am going to be part of your host team. My name is Coach AJ, and I just want to let you all know, first and foremost, that it's an honor and pleasure to be here, but secondarily, that this show is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician and is for educational purposes only. The testimonials made are that of the person giving the testimony, and we make no claims as to anything at all. And I kind of botched that up. Excuse me. This program is for educational purposes only, and the content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA, and testimonials that are shared are the individual experiences of the person sharing them. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income, but as an empowered individual, you do have options available. Welcome to Daily with Doc, and we have our fantastic guest today, Dr. Judy Reynolds. She's a PhD. I'm going to make her explain to me what a PAS and a diploma in ACAN is. She has been involved in the horse industry for over 40 years as a breeder, a trainer, a university professor, and a nutritionist, a technical services manager, and a consultant. She has a PhD in animal sciences. She's done research on horses, and all of this was at Texas A&M. She's published in the Journal of Equine Veterinary Science and in the Journal of Animal Science. So we could continue to go down the line and talk about all of Dr. Judy's accomplishments, but I think I'd rather just add her to the screen and welcome her to Daily with Doc. Dr. Judy, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, AJ. It's so wonderful to be here One of my favorite places to be all the time.
Well,
So, yes, I will clarify a little bit. Most people think that if you work with animals, you are a veterinarian, especially at the doctoral level. Most people think that, but there's a whole kind of a silent world out there that are animal scientists. And so we do research and we do teaching. And when you are PAS means professional animal scientist. It's like if you were a lawyer, you had to go do the bar. If you're a professional animal scientist, you have to take exams to get in, and then you have to do continuing education credits every year to stay in. I started doing that. I was one of the first people that did it because at Texas A&M, my major professor was one of the people who had the most graduate students, and he was one of the people that started the whole thing. So I got in on that very early, and then later on, I became a diplomat of the American College of Animal Sciences in the nutrition field. And so that's the highest level that you can get in our profession, the animal sciences profession. So the main difference between animal scientists, we do three main topics. We do nutrition, we do exercise physiology, and we do reproduction. So the embryo transfers and a lot of that kind of stuff that you've probably heard about. Those are the three main things that we do. Of course, we focus on teaching a lot of other things like that. So that's where those credentials come from. And so I actually grew up in Minnesota, did a lot of horse training and care and things like that there, and then moved to Texas A&M for my graduate work. And the other thing that's kind of important to my story is that I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was growing up. I went through high school, I took advanced courses in sciences and things, but I actually had to miss almost half a year from being sick. So that put me behind. And then I retook some courses that I wanted to take. But when I graduated from high school, I just knew my family, we knew that I wasn't going to be able to go straight into college and vet school. We didn't have the money. We had a construction business in the family, and that just wasn't going to work. So I went on and did other things. I mainly showed and trained horses, had the time of my life, had a wonderful time doing that. And then later on, went back to school. And so I was older than everybody when I went to college. But I had children, obviously I got married young because that's what people did in those days, believe it or not. But then I had the kids and then I went back to school. So I got a biology teaching degree up in Minnesota at a college that was really known for that, for their education and their business school. But there weren't any animal or, well, we did have some animal, but no horse courses. So then, when I was thinking of going on, I went to Texas A&M and did the master's in animal science and the PhD in nutrition. So I actually have three major degrees in three major topics. But that's why I like to go and go in more detail on the biology things, like the energy comes from the sun, and we build the glucose molecules and all those kinds of things. So I kind of do that.
well,
Anyway, go ahead.
Dr. Judy, you kind of glazed over one of the more intriguing things to me about your story.
Okay.
And I wish you had pictures because that would have been spot on. But I remember you telling me that you used to, when you said that you showed horses, that
Mhm.
doesn't really tell the tale for us novices. Like, you rode horses and you would have like the different outfits and met some famous people doing this stuff, or what? Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, I actually trained my first horse that I finally got. I came from a non-horse family. Finally talked my dad into a horse when I was almost 15. I trained him myself from a 2-year-old, and that's not recommended. You usually, for a child, you get a horse that's older and already trained. But I trained quite a few horses throughout that time frame. We showed in local, bunch of different kinds of shows and did all kinds of events. If you think about events where you might see someone weaving through poles or jumping things and going around barrels and those kinds of things, we did a lot of that. And that was fun. And since my husband and I both did it, I didn't go to rodeos. Most people think of women running barrels in rodeos, but men can't compete in rodeos in barrels. And my husband wasn't a roper, so that was pretty much it. Anyway, so we did what we call team events, like rescue race, where I would ride the horse down and pick him up as fast as possible and run back. Or sometimes we'd run down and I'd have to jump off the horse on my face and he'd jump on, and just these crazy events. We did all that. It was lots of fun. And then it just led on to, I was teaching 4-H before I even had children, because I loved learning, I loved teaching. And then what actually changed my career was I got injured. I had a serious accident and I had actually a broken back and lots of damage to my neck. That redirected my life so that I ended up going, after I healed from that, I was at a year in a body cast. It was not really that much fun. But then I went back to school. So I went to a junior college near me and I ended up being able to take classes with a group of nurses. So I took a lot of the courses that they took, the anatomy and physiology, the biochemistry, a lot of those things for the first couple of years. And I actually became a first responder. So I was trained medically to first responder. Now, I never got a job as a first responder, but I did that. And then I went on, after getting the bachelor's degree in biology, I went on to Texas and then did all those things. So, but yes, I can come up with some pictures at some point and I can show you.
Well, I think you have some other show and tell to do us today.
Yep.
For us.
Today.
So I'm
Yep.
gonna get off the screen.
Okay.
And I'm gonna allow you to educate us and go for it.
Okay, so I'm gonna just pull up, this takes a minute here to pull up my other screen and get it to work. Sometimes it likes to think about it, but we'll see how happy it is to work today. I should have had a little more creative thing for this. Maybe we'll go back and change it at some point. But when we're feeding our pets, why are we doing it? What are we trying to accomplish? Health and longevity. And the interesting thing is, when I was young and growing up, our pets and our horses were living half as long as they are now. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. The changes in nutrition and things have allowed us to really take advantage of that. But the key important thing there is that you have to feed them all the nutrients they need at the beginning. You need to do preconception. If you raise animals at all, you know that. And with people, it's the same thing. We have to be healthy before we have the children or the pets, horse, foals, whatever. So we've learned a lot about that. And I like to do a lot of comparisons. There are 3 main ways that we feed our animals and ourselves. Number 1, which is sort of the easy way for people, you get this one bag for the cats or the dogs. And someone formulated that. I'm going to go into a little more detail on that in a minute. But someone formulated those bags. Then if you look at a horse, you are going to feed mostly forage, which we call the grass in the pasture, or the hay, which is just grass that's been cut and baled. Or we have maybe cubed products. Someone may have alfalfa cubes or things like that. Those are forage. Then with horses, we can give them a feed, but all of them need the forage and vitamins and minerals. Okay. And then when you think about people, the third type of animals that we feed ourselves, we know that there really aren't that many good guidelines for people. People just eat pretty much what they want. And it makes me sad that people don't learn more about their own bodies, their own nutrient needs, and know how to eat better. And that's why we seem to have this huge epidemic with our kids being sicker than ever. And our kids actually have a shorter life expectancy than we do. And that's the first time in history. So again, we're thinking about 3 things with the category of pets. We're going to talk about those bagged foods. And then the next time we're going to need more than one program here to go through a lot of this stuff. But the next time.
No, you only get one, Dr. Judy. You can't come back.
Because I have information about making your own pet food and things like that, but I don't have it ready for today. So basically, we're going to talk about those pet foods. And why are we talking about it here? Why is it a big deal? Because those pet foods are not going to meet all the needs. All they're going to do is basically keep them from getting a really serious disease, but they're not going to make them as healthy as they can be. And we're here because we have supplements that can be used on top of those bagged foods to make them healthier and make them live longer, or allow them to live longer. So that's basically where this whole thing is going. All right, we're going to see how perfect. Okay. I was influenced by Dr. Linus Pauling. This came from one of Dr. Wallach's books. But I started reading about him when I was a teenager, and I started taking vitamin C, extra vitamin C, compared to what most people would think. And I've been doing that all my life. So I was acquainted with him and his readings, and Dr. Wallach has made a focus of this too. Notice he says nearly all disease can be traced to a nutritional deficiency. That's a huge statement, because most people think you just do what you want to do, you eat what you want to eat, but then if something starts to go wrong, then we have what's called a symptom, because something's not working right. Then we have what's called a disease diagnosis. And then we have what's called a treatment, something that we're supposed to do about it. But the beauty of nutrition is we're trying to prevent that. And we've learned how to do it very well with the animals. We've learned how to prevent a lot of things so that we don't have to worry about them. So just an introduction there. So when you think about nutrition, first of all, they keep changing their minds. 10 trillion cells, that's a big number. And we have all these interactions and things going on all the time, all the biochemistry and things that it doesn't even compute. It's impossible to even think about all those things that have to happen. And yet, by putting pieces together, by doing individual research projects and putting things together, people have figured out, well, if we have a deficiency in an animal, we should be adding this. And another deficiency adds something else. But what ends up happening then is you put this whole really complicated thing together and you have a formula. You create a formula, and then it's going to be for a certain animal, let's say a dog or a cat. Then it's going to be for when the dog is going to have puppies, or before breeding, and then they're going to have puppies. Then you have something else for when the puppy's born. You have something else for the male dogs and the neutered male dogs and all these different things. And then you also have different requirements for the workload. So you think of all the different kinds of dogs, all the different kinds of work they have to do. But anyway, this is a complex thing, and that's why nutritionists do it. It is figure all these things out. Now, if any of you are interested in this kind of stuff, I'm always wanting to talk to people who might want to kind of follow along and do what I do. I'm looking for people that want to do that. But for the average person, you just need to know basic things, and then you can come to people like me and ask questions, and you can find out the things that you need to know. I'm never going to be a rocket scientist, and I'm never going to learn how to fix a carburetor. So, we each have our own thing that we do. So with this slide, it's complicated. What we have to keep in mind is that whenever someone makes a list of the different nutrients and says, okay, if you're missing this, you're going to have this problem. If you're missing that, you're going to have that problem. That only works if you've already got all the other things you need. And there are between 90 and 100 things that we already know we need. So we have to be careful. Yes, we can talk about if you meet all the needs, but you're missing one thing, you can talk about that. But that's not the science. We don't want to be just separating nutrients out. We got to have them all. Okay. And I'm going to have to move here because I know we have other things to talk about, but besides what I'm saying today. Okay. The only reason I put this up, and I don't want you to be confused by it. What it is there were research studies on calcium, and when they changed the calcium, it changed all these other different minerals, and these are just random minerals. But it's a concept that every time you change one thing, you change a lot of other minerals and other things. And so that's why it's so important that everything has to balance. Again, back to make sure you get all the nutrients that you need. So what do we do with people? We have RDAs, recommended dietary allowances. We have dietary reference indexes and things like that. So again, it's the same thing with people. These are just a couple of examples. They surveyed research studies that had been done and put together guidelines. So if I wanted to look up a guideline, I would go to one of these. Now, these are relatively old. There are, different ones and newer ones, but these are just examples. This is the same thing for horses. I happen to be an official reviewer of this. I was asked by, and here I am in here, I was asked by the committee to be an official reviewer of this document, and this is the newest one for horses. So I'm very familiar with that and how it works. I did formulate horse feeds for a major international company. Okay, so again, we're starting with all the essential nutrients because this system is proven. And this system is proven by Dr. Wallach with his books and his CDs and his, all of his information that he's been giving out. He has been proving by pulling up research, doing his own research, all kinds of things, that this is important. And this is a book that Dr. Wallach references, and just putting it in here so people can go back and look at that if they're interested in that information. But here again, this is a huge concept. I'm going to orient you around the bottom. This is 0, and this is the amount of nutrient. So you would take each nutrient individually and look at this on this chart. You take that nutrient, you have 0, and here you have some amount, whatever it turns out to be. For here, this is how the animal's health and performance is doing. So down here, they're not good. They're not living, okay? Then as this goes up, we get to a deficiency, and then right above deficiency, we have all those guidelines that I was just showing you, the books and everything. They're going to say, this is how much you need of this nutrient. And basically, all you're doing there is you're preventing a deficiency syndrome to actually see the deficiency. But we don't want just that. We want optimal. So there's this range in here at the top of the curve, how much optimal that we want. Now, generally, it's going to cost more money to be over here. So we want to be, on the beginning side of optimal. If we go too far, we're starting to cause an overdose. We're starting to cause a problem. Down here, toxicity, obvious symptoms and everything, and death. So when we talk about a nutrient, there are not good and bad nutrients. There are 90 to 100 nutrients, and each one needs to be in the correct amount for optimal performance. And so if you formulate from a book at NRC, then we add for our pets things like Arthrodex and the minerals, the liquid minerals, and things like that. We add because we want to get from here to up here. So that's a huge concept. If there are questions about that later, I'll go right through it for you. Okay, what happens when we are formulating feeds? Here are just some things we do. We have to know what ingredients we can use, what's available, and what's the cost. We need to know what the customers are going to request. What do they prefer? Big changes. About 20 years ago or so, most of the dog foods had ground corn as the #1 ingredient. Hard to find one that does that still anymore. It used to be cheap and people would put it in, but corn is not a good ingredient in a dog food. Okay, so people change. People have learned that gluten isn't good for us or our pets, so those things change. Then we look at the nutrient profile of each ingredient. This is important. Is it easily digestible in the stomach and the small intestine? The starch, actually, that applies to other nutrients as well. We look at the fiber content of the ingredients. This is an interesting one right here because there is a group called AFCO, the Association of American Feed Control Officials. And their job is to look at all the pet foods and see if they are following the guidelines. They actually test them and make sure that they're what's in them is what's in them, what you say is in them is in them, and all that. As I was putting the last parts of this presentation together today, I got an email from AFCO, and they have a new initiative. In the past, pet foods have not been labeled for their fiber content and digestibility. So a brand new thing is starting now, a new initiative. So the pet foods will now have that as a consideration. With our horse feeds and our ruminant feeds, like cattle feeds, that's been a big deal for a long time because they're big fiber digesters. So that, I thought that was interesting. I got to do more research on that when I'm finished. Okay, obviously the vitamins and minerals have to be there, and processing is a big deal. So like I said, your typical dog foods are what they call kibbled, and they are heated at high temperatures, which causes loss of nutrients, causes some other issues. And then there's a whole group of people that are doing freeze-dried or raw foods, or, you know, there are formulas and things to do your own. So those are all different things that can be done. And I've just got an example here, and we're not going to be able to go through a lot of detail, but I just wanted to bring up what is going to be on the dog food label. This is just an example of a commercial dog food. It's going to show the guaranteed analysis and all the different nutrients that it needs to have. And then it's going to show the ingredient statement. And what happens here, you basically, as far as AFCO is concerned, you basically look at mostly at the top 5 ingredients. And nowadays, our dog foods are really divided between grain. Do they have grain, or don't they? There are grain-free dog foods now. And again, that's a gluten issue. And other grains are not that easy either for dogs to digest. The one grain that is useful is brown rice. This happens to have some brown rice in it. And then there's another type of specialty dog food where they call it limited ingredients. And the reason they do that is because people see something advertised and they think, oh, I should have that in my dog food. And so they'll look on the label for that one thing. And the manufacturers are ending up putting 35 or 40 different things on that label. But then you have some animals that are sensitive to one of these ingredients. And so you want foods that are simpler for those pets that might have issues. But then you also want to get all those good fancy things in there for the people who want that. So it's an interesting thing. And there are, I can't even imagine how many different brands there are of pet foods. Down here at the bottom, of course, you're going to have all your vitamins and minerals, and these actually have probiotics, and prebiotics are just something to feed the probiotic bacteria. So you're going to see a lot of that. One thing I caution people about with their pet foods, they're expensive. Those things are expensive. And so a lot of times you're going to end up, if it's in the dog food, in the big bag of dog food, chances are there may not be enough of it and you're going to still have to add it. So keep that in mind. All right, we're winging through here. Okay, I've just listed some of the products that we have. We have our plant-derived minerals. We have our omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, or 3, 6, and 9. Those are huge. And then we have the Arthrodex. And the Arthrodex was formulated. Okay, I got to go one more. Or did I miss? No, okay, sorry. I didn't get that in there. I had a picture of the back of the label of the Arthrodex, but we don't have time for huge detail anyway. But this Arthrodex is a product formulated specifically for pets. It can be used for most pets. It is, however, not legal for ruminants. Any small, like goats, sheep, llamas, beef of any kind, because it contains beef products, contains beef liver and some things like that. And because of the old mad cow issue years ago, it was determined that you cannot feed ruminant materials back to ruminants. So that means your cattle, sheep, and everything cannot have those. Okay, again, just questions later on will be good. So Stabilized Rice Bran is an ingredient that I worked with personally, and I formulated this product called Healthy Glow. The nice thing about it, it contains mainly brown rice, the bran. You take the white off and you have this what's called stabilized rice bran. Then I added some flax and a lot of extra vitamin E. That product's called Healthy Glow. You can buy it at feed stores under the ADM brand, and it can be fed to any animal. It helps build muscle, and it's naturally very high in niacin, which for mental health, I've done a couple of other talks about that. If you want to look at back at some of my other ones where I talked about B vitamins, that's a big deal. So I wanted to throw that in just so people realize that's something I use and they can use also. Okay, real quick here. Dr. Wallach did a famous research study where there were foxes that had male and female fox, obviously, had a litter of babies, and they all had really bad cleft palates. And this is what it looks like from underneath the jaw of the dogs. What happens is when animal bodies form, they start out flat, and then they circle around, and that becomes the outer part, the skin and everything, and then the organs all develop inside. And when there's a lack of nutrients for that mom to give to those babies, it doesn't close all the way during that process. And so you'll get things like spina bifida and all kinds of things can happen. And this is a result of not enough nutrients pre-conception. And that's a famous study Dr. Wallach did. He did an audio on it. I found that picture in the Rare Earths book, Dr. Wallach's book. I wanted to show you this because this is a happy story. Sassy is a little bitty puppy bulldog, and she was born with a severe cleft palate. Okay, she had to be very carefully fed because there's a big hole and she could aspirate into her respiratory system and die. So she's been hand fed and taken care of for, I think she's almost 5 months. And we are feeding this puppy. You have to get them to be 5 or 6 months minimum until they can have a surgery to correct it. Okay. So we're going to see how this works out. We're feeding it. This pup, that's her right there, fighting with a really big dog. But I just wanted to show you a couple of things, a couple of examples, and then we'll go on with our other guests. Okay, this is a Rottweiler, and he was born with hip issues, which are fairly common, unfortunately, in that breed. You have to be very careful about it. Vet diagnosed him at about 6, 7 months as needing surgery, actually replacing both ends of the joint. And I said, no, I don't think we'll do that. I will do my magic with nutrition. And he never needed surgery, and he's amazingly healthy. I'm guessing he's 8 right now. So there's a good one. Here's the socialization that happens at a rescue. Getting them ready to, right there, that puppy was going to go to a new owner. And I wanted to throw one horse one in here for you, and then we'll go. This horse was an orphan. So he had to be hand-fed and taken care of his whole life. And here he is running at 14, 15 or something, his pasture. This horse, I wanted to show the horse program that I created. This is a 2.5-month-old colt. And it's amazing. If you look at most 2.5-month-old horses out in the pasture, they're not going to look like this. So this was part of the rice bran, helps with the muscle development and all that. These two is a before and after of a horse that got into some moldy hay in a round bale and was not supposed to make it. He was literally declared, no, he won't make it. He had what horse people call heaves, which is similar to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in people, or COPD. And it's basically considered to be not fixable. Here he is after the treatment. He had to have some veterinary help, dexamethasone, and long-term care. But again, it was the feeding program, it was the stabilized rice bran, it was the Blue and Minerals from the Longevity and Dr. Wallach program. So these are just all plus stories that I have here quickly for you. And I will turn it back over to you, AJ.
Well, Dr. Judy, that's some fantastic stuff there. I got a quick question for you about, so now what is wrong with corn in the feed, and is it bad for us too?
Great question. Okay. The problem with corn, and this is actually a big thing in human history, it's in Dr. Wallach's books also. When corn came across from Europe over to the Americas, and it started being very popular. And in the South, people started planting it and using it. And then we started getting pellagra. And we also started getting protein deficiency diseases, okay? Because it's not as good of a grain as other ones. The big problem with corn, it doesn't have enough lysine. Are you familiar with lysine, the amino acid?
I am familiar with
It's the
lysine.
most limiting amino acid for growth, and corn is very deficient in it, okay? The other thing about corn, it's about 71% starch.
Mhm.
So that just gets broken down and turned into sugar. Okay? It only has about 4% fat, 8% protein, too low for most animals. Nowadays, it's also an issue because a lot of it's genetically modified and a lot of it is sprayed with herbicides. So as far as for humans, corn, if you like corn, you would have to make sure you're getting your other nutrients, a lot of those nutrients another way, and you'd want to make sure that you're getting corn that is not genetically modified and that is not sprayed with herbicides.
Mhm. So it's not nutrient dense enough for us to really focus on as a good source of grain.
Correct. And it's not balanced. When nutrient dense is great. That's a great concept too, but also balanced, not enough of the essential protein,
Mhm.
essential amino acids.
Now,
Yeah.
it's funny because a lot of people say that we get a lot of omega-6s in our diet, and one of the sources that they mention is corn. Is that kind of accurate, or is that
Yes, actually just about most things, most foods have more omega-6s than omega-3s. There's another distinction that I think most people miss, and that is there are two specific fats, the omega-3 and the omega-6, that we need that are essential.
the
Then there
ALA
are a
and
lot
the
of,
EPA?
yes, though those ALA, did you say E something?
I said EPA after I said ALA. I said,
No, it's okay. Alpha linolenic acid and linoleic acid.
okay.
Those are the two, but that's fine. But we call it omega-3 and omega-6. But those are specific fatty acids made a certain way. Then there are all kinds of other things that are also omega-3 or omega-6 fatty acids, but they are not that specific one. So you could get a lot of those other ones, you know, it's more complex than
They have the
people
same
think,
shape,
but
but they're not essential.
not exactly the same shape. They have a little different configuration. They're in the category omega-3. Okay, the way you get the term omega-3 and omega-6 is that you have, for a normal molecule, you're going to have one carbon, two carbon, three carbon. And at that third carbon, instead of all the hydrogens on there, you're going to have a double bond. So it's named for where that first double bond is. So if you have omega-3 or an omega-6, that's where the first double bond is. And these are fats that are not saturated. A saturated fat has all the hydrogens all along the molecule, and it doesn't have any bends in it or anything. Okay, and I don't want to go too far into chemistry.
Yeah, we're
But-
gonna.
Yeah, but, yeah. But okay, 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 yeah. back to, so what I also wanted to say is omega-6s tend to be pro-inflammatory. That's where you were going, and I assume. And omega-3s tend to be anti-inflammatory. So if people eat a lot of things like vegetable oils, pro-inflammatory. Now, we also know the vegetable oils aren't good anyway because they've been denatured in the process of taking the oil out of the corn or the canola or whatever it's coming from. That process heats them so much that they're not food anymore. They're denatured. We can't digest them. We can't use them. So all of that ties in together. But the question about corn is a really big deal. People in the South that switched over and used like corn tortillas, just corn is a big part of their diet. They were not getting enough protein and they were not getting enough lysine, the amino acid. And again, if 71% of something is starch that easily becomes sugar, that's almost like a candy bar, right? Okay.
A candy bar without the flavor. Okay, but
Exactly.
hang on a second. No, well, just
Okay.
before we move forward, what about that farmer's dog food that they keep in the fridge? What about that stuff? How is that for our furry friends?
Okay, now the brand I haven't looked up and talked, to talk about it, but that is a topic that I'm going to go through and put more detail on. But again, in order to make sure that's working, you have to take actual food. Like if I was going to create a dog food, I would have to take actual chicken or beef or, all these other things. Usually you'd end up adding some sweet potatoes, peas, some of that stuff. But then we also have to get all those vitamins and minerals in there. So if people are doing I'm not going to use the brand because I'm not familiar with exactly how they put it together, but you can do that. People can do that. What it's going to do is cost more, a lot more. The freeze-dried ones are getting pretty popular now.
Mhm.
And for these small dogs, it makes a lot of sense. But I can't even imagine having enough of that for my Rottweiler.
Okay, but do you know any brand of dog food or freeze-dried dog food or refrigerated dog food? Do you know any brand that has 90 essential nutrients?
No,
Okay.
not
So
that has the 90 because they're not
do
formulating for that. They're formulating for the NRC. We have to add the Arthrodex and stuff on top.
uh,
That's
so
what we're trying to do. Yeah.
okay. That's clear. Before we go to questions, I just want to talk. We have two guests today. We have Ann and I want you to kind of talk to our first Ann, which is not Ann B. Ann B, you're going to hang on for us. We're going to talk to our Ann who rescues animals. Ann, can you unmute yourself? All right, try it again. How are you
Hello.
today?
Good. How are you?
All right, you meet Dr. Judy. Dr. Judy, this is Ann, and I just want to show you some of Ann's animals.
Okay.
Ann's gonna talk about her animals. What you got here, Ann?
Well, this is Sally. She has been coming here about 6 or 7 years. She's a feral. And sadly, some people believe in just killing them, but if you TNR them, they're great. I don't have to worry about mice or snakes or any of that. So she's one of three. And I have 3 little winter homes set up for them, but everybody's been fixed.
Okay, and what's the importance of fixing an animal?
Oh, good Lord. Well, about millions of animals are killed throughout the United States every year because of people not fixing them. And a lot of people can't afford it, but if in their area they call up the local groups, some of the local groups can direct them to low-cost spay and neuter alternatives.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Judy, what do you think about spaying and neutering an animal?
There are so many unwanted animals because of, their job in life is to procreate, and that's what they're going to do. And if people don't make sure that they neuter their pets, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And so, I'm a firm believer. I think I was mentioning to you earlier that in our state, people who rescue pets have to have them neutered before they're allowed to place them in another home. So if an animal comes into a legal rescue, a certified rescue, they have to be spayed or neutered before they can leave. And that's just one of the, we're trying to cut down on the number of pets that don't have homes, that are lost, that end up in the rescue system. So that's a good thing. But it's awareness for people. I think there's a thing called anthropomorphism. And that's where we think that our pets are like us. And we think it would be cruel, and it obviously is, to do that type of thing to a human. We don't fix humans. But
Not anymore.
yeah, and that could be a history lesson. But a pet, once they are neutered, they do not miss that part of life. They live for the day. They're happy, they're comfortable. If they are not fixed, they spend a lot of their time, especially the males, all they're doing is going out and creating more cats and dogs.
It sounds like my buddy Albert in South Africa. Just roaming the land.
I was privileged to go to Puerto Rico twice for my job to help formulate horse feeds there. We actually had a feed plant there, and I had a ball. They put us up at a really nice place. But anyway, they don't neuter their pets in Puerto Rico. And it's so distressing because you've got all these skinny animals running around with parasites and yada, yada, yada. So a culture has to decide what they're going to do. There's within the city, within the state, within the country. But those of us who do help with rescues and things, it's just the most important thing to do is control the reproduction of the pets.
All right,
Well,
Ann, who's this?
Yeah, Fidget, but if I could just say one more thing about that, please, is a cat can produce, I don't have the statistics here, but oh my gosh, they can produce thousands in no time at all. It doesn't sound like it, but you figure if they have 4 babies or 6 babies, then those babies, by the time they're 5 or 6 months old, they can breed more babies. And meanwhile, the other ones, but and a lot of people don't really realize that. But yeah. Anyway, this is Fidget. She's 15. All these animals are on longevity products.
What do
And
you give them, Karen?
I give them the Orthodex. I also give them the minerals, and the ones that have problems with respiratory, like you'll be showing Shadow's picture. She's also 15. She has what I call chronic respiratory.
Okay, so this animal right here we're looking at is 15 years old.
Yeah.
How old do cats normally live?
Well, I've heard of cats living to be 25, 26, but with my experience, and I do take good care of them, they live probably to be sometimes 17 or 19.
Who's this?
Oh, that is Lola. She is 12 years old, and she's also on longevity. She was having problems. She was starting to have accidents in the house. It would hurt her too much to get up and go outside, and now it's amazing. She gets up with her tail happily wagging, and she trots. She doesn't gallop.
Is that her?
Yeah, that's Lola.
So she's doing a little bit better with the longevity products?
She's doing a lot better because she was on her way out. I've rescued over 28 years, so yes, I've been around enough to know, and had my own. She was on her way out if I could not do something for her.
And then who you got here? This one's a showboat.
Yeah, that's Fidget, and that is Ginger. And you can see, and I didn't put it up for show, but I have cleaning products, but there's the minerals I use in the water.
We have plant-derived minerals right in the water, and it looks like Fidget is aiming towards the plant-derived minerals. She's wants to go grab some. And then who do we have here?
Oh, that's Lola and Ginger together. I just thought I'd throw those in, but
Yeah,
yes, and
they look very happy. They look like they're chilling out, and this is outside the window. They got their own space to hang out, huh?
yeah, and the thing is, like with Ginger, she was having trouble with her back leg limping. She's 9. She doesn't limp anymore. She's doing fantastic. It rolls the years back on these animals, just like it has on me.
Who you got here?
These were 2 rescues from a colony I've tried to help. She decided she didn't want any more fix at the time. She told me she had 25 cats, about, she didn't even know. And she said a lot of kittens had died. This colony has got eye conjunctivitis, respiratory, roundworms, coccidia. So they've been done, the ones that were rescued, some of them I got into rescue, and some of them had to be euthanized because they weren't savable. They were dying.
And then what about now?
Up, that's them after they got treated. And
And
I
when you,
put,
when you say treated, what do you mean?
well, I didn't know about the plant-derived minerals then, but I mixed, like you said, a tiny amount of Orthodex in their soft food. And, people may not understand, but some people may say, well, they're going to get better anyway with medicine or whatever. No, there is a huge difference between just giving them food, or giving them food and medicine, or just adding the longevity. There is a huge difference. It has saved me so much stress and time and money because of these products. They've been wonderful.
Do your cats get essential fatty acids?
Yeah, I give them to the ones that have respiratory, that have breathing issues. The old ones are the ones, especially, I'm worried about. And yes, I'd love to do it for everybody, but sometimes it's cost. That's Alice. She when she arrived, she was walking on 4 legs. Then all of a sudden, she started having trouble with her front leg, and she wouldn't walk on it. So I started her on the Alpha. She's also on the plant-derived minerals. Now she does limp, but she walks on all her legs now, and that was something that wasn't possible before. When I brought her to the vet, he told me an old injury. Okay, you went to Katie. She's one of the outdoor ones, and the worry I have with the outdoor ones is that you can't bring them inside. They would just totally freak. It would be so hard on them because they're petrified. They're happy outside. I hate it because when it's -4, they have to, even though they have winter homes, they disappear. But the problem I've had with them outside is respiratory. So I keep them on that. It's not the big, huge worry it was, because respiratory can go into pneumonia, which can kill them.
Karen, how many animals are you helping right this second, you think?
Well, as far as you're talking about the longevity, you've seen the ones here that are on longevity.
Forget the nutrition part right now. What I'm mentioning is how many animals are you helping right now, approximate?
Approximate? Oh, I don't know. I just work on who I can. We're trying to place 2 dogs that are living in a shed. Their owners moved and dumped them, and the neighbors feeding them, and trying to place another dog that was found during the storm, and the woman can't keep them. And there are 2 cats that, yeah, it's just a bunch of them.
How long have you been helping animals?
Over 28 years.
Okay, and then there's a group of you, some other folks that are helping too?
Yeah, we all work together to try to help as many as we can.
Okay. Folks, if you want to help Karen and help her animals and her community, there is a link in the description that talks about that. And Karen, did you want to just talk a little bit, because we only got a couple seconds here. Can you just
Uh-huh.
talk very briefly about your journey personally in using longevity products?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm 67. uh and you wouldn't know it because of this. I'm serious, because of this. But anyway, I was headed for a knee replacement. When I would get up, I had to hang on to things to get going, and it didn't matter what I was doing. I had to hang on to things. And I'm missing cartilage in my right knee because of age. And also, my hand had, I've been on longevity for, I guess, a year and a half or so, maybe longer. But my hand, my left hand, and then my right, I started having tremors in it every so often, just slight tremors. That was very disturbing. Well, those are gone now. I don't have those problems anymore with that. I've had IBS for over 30 years. It was real bad. I went to doctors. I went to a specialist. They didn't help me. I did try the medicines. Not a single one talked to me about diet. Now I don't have to worry. When I used to go shopping, if I had to go out the next day because we didn't have delivery then, I wouldn't eat all that night. I wouldn't eat all the next day until I had to go shopping. And I tried not to even drink water because I didn't know if I'd have an episode. My arthritis, the last time I saw my primary care, I did switch doctors. When I showed her my arthritis, which was starting to get bad in my right hand too, she said, oh, well, let me know when you get worse, which meant she was going to put me on pain medication, pain therapy, whatever they call it. Well, I don't have to have that anymore. I'm actually exercising now with my right leg. I don't have to have a knee replacement. My hand doesn't hurt me like it did, especially that one. Now, getting older, a lot of people have trouble with hair loss. My hair was starting to thin out. So you told me about hair, skin, and nails. It took about 3 months and I noticed a big difference. I was tired a lot of times and depressed, and feeling better will automatically help you with that. It will also help you with your anxiety. And the other thing is, my dentist, when I went to him over a year ago, he said, oh, well, he said, you're going to lose these teeth soon. They're loose. Well, I still have them, but that's because the same thing that helps my joints helps my teeth. And you're the one that told me about that.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you came on, and I always love talking to you because uh, you're a good human being, but even more so, you always are looking to help other people. You tell me all the time how you're trying to help your friends and you're helping the animals. So if anybody wants to give a little support, go into the description on the platform in which you're watching, and you'll see a place that you can join the GoFundMe and help her out. Thank you, Ann, for joining us.
Thank you. And thank you for how you've helped me.
It's my pleasure. And now we have another Ann who, I don't know if you folks know this Ann, but we're going to bring Ann on the screen. Hey, Ann, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. You know what? I'm just curious to know, Ann, if you could tell me who this is.
This is Wendell. He's my 7-year-old golden doodle.
The golden doodle.
Yeah.
Now tell me about Wendell. Tell us a little bit about Wendell.
So Wendell is the king of the zoomies. He loves to run around, loves to get exercise. I have to walk him, otherwise he gets restless and drives me crazy. But yeah, he's doing really well. He went last Monday for his annual checkup with the vet. We go to a holistic vet, and she said he's doing great. And she made it a point to say that his teeth are perfect. And I don't brush his teeth, and I attribute that to him being on the Arthrodex and the Perpetual.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you give Wendell essential fatty acids?
I don't, but I'm thinking maybe I should.
Yeah, I think that might be a pretty good idea. Now, you've been giving Wendell Arthrodex since you first got him. How old was he when you got him?
So when we got him, he was 3 months old, but I probably didn't put him on the Arthrodex in the Perpetual until, let's see, 2022. So he was probably about 3 years old when we did that. He has a lot of food sensitivity, so it was kind of a process to work through with him, what food to give him. And we actually had a hair analysis done on him so that we could see what he was allergic to. And his biggest thing is chicken that he's allergic to. So he eats mostly beef and lamb. He eats the frozen raw food. Plus he gets this other wet food in a can that it basically, it doesn't have any grains in it and it just has the meat in it. And then that's what I use for his evening feeding. I mix in the Arthrodex, and then I break the Perpetual up into little pieces. And then I also give him a doggy probiotic. I throw that in there and I mix that and I put it on top of the frozen food and he just eats right through it.
Hey, wait a second. Dr. Judy, what do you think about what Ann is feeding Wendell? Is this appropriate stuff we got?
As long as it's balanced. And so if you're now, when you're saying that you're feeding the beef or the lamb, is that the actual meat, or is that if that's a wet food with that kind of meat in it?
So the wet food has it's just the beef, but that's all it is beef.
Okay, so you probably want to talk to a nutritionist. Be glad to help you with that. And just make sure that as you put that whole thing together, you do need a source of vitamins and minerals with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge fan of eggs, feeding eggs to our pets. You know, it's the best thing there is as far as a balanced product. That and milk, eggs and milk are the two most balanced foods for animals. So that's a good thing you can do. But again, just to make sure you've got the whole thing looking balanced, since you're not using a commercial feed, which usually adds the vitamins and minerals and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, is she getting adequate vitamins and minerals because she's using Arthrodex?
If she's using the right amount. But I would also want to look at it to see what else, because if you're feeding just the meat, you've got to make sure that you've got some other things balanced too in the diet.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, in the frozen food, it also has other things in it too. It's
Okay.
it's mainly the meat, but it has like fruits and vegetables, and I think it has a couple different nutrients in it too. I can't remember offhand.
All right.
Right.
And, sorry.
But let me just simplify. It's simple to ask someone one time to get it straightened out and figured out. It's not something that you have to keep constantly going and worrying about. Obviously, if you want to change it, if you want to add or something, you can do that. But, that's one of the things I do is just look at the whole thing. Okay, what might you be missing? What might add, fit in there fairly well. We also have a hyperimmune egg product. We have tablets for dogs. We also have the human ones that can be used.
Right.
And that's a proprietary thing.
Right.
You do one or the other. You don't do at the same time. You don't do both kinds of eggs at the same time. But
right.
there are
unfortunately he's allergic to eggs.
Okay, well, and the basic theory of where allergies come from is poor digestion allows things to leak in at some point in their life, or something has been injected with that in that they get sensitized to. So those are all things that people need to look at, because there shouldn't be allergies. If the food isn't leaking through, I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, but especially rescue animals, that's a huge thing. A point I want to make is people who are breeding animals and raising them on purpose and looking at preconception nutrients of the parent animals. That's a whole different thing than animals either born in the wild, like wild deer, any species that's wild, or these feral cats and things. Chances are they did not get all that. And that's why we have all these rescues and why we have all these congenital problems, meaning at birth, like the cleft palate and all those kinds of things. So
fantastic. And let us see Wendell before we let you go.
All right. Let's see. You pick up. He heard his name.
Hey, Wendell. Hey, buddy.
Hi,
All right.
Wendell.
All right. Give us a wave, pal. Thank you for coming on, and we love seeing our longevity family. I'm gonna remove and then talk about being able to see our animals. We have our leader, Becca Dukes, who's got a surprise for us. Becca, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I wasn't planning on being, but you're quite persuasive.
Persuasive is my job.
Yes, yes. And I just want to make a note that, you know, there are a lot of animals out there that need good homes and need the good nutrition. And I'm all about not trying to create more to the problem. But one thing that that I do is, so I don't do it so much now, but I am here now. But that is to make sure that there are healthy options, because there's a lot of people that are looking for puppies. So we have Rottweilers like Dr. Judy as well. We've got a male and a female, and they are Arthrodex pups since they were puppies. Actually, the female was before she was even born. Her mama was on Arthrodex, and also the plant-derived minerals. And then something that's not been mentioned is the I-26 dog companion, which has more of the vitamins in it, as the Arthrodex has lots of amino acids. It's got enzymes to help with the digestion. So as we're working on, focusing on our own digestion to make sure that we get best absorption of what we're taking, the animals need it as well. And then the perpetual with all the antioxidants added and more support that actually is beneficial for the bones and joints. Now, we have not had any problems with any type of hip dysplasia with any of our dogs or any of the pups that have gone out. I keep in contact with the owners. We actually have an adoption process where they have to be approved and vetted before they go. With that being said,
Yeah, let's see the goods.
oh my goodness, these little guys are 4 weeks old. And they're huge. But you know, their parents have always had really.
We need to see more of the. You gotta put your muscles on. Let's see them again.
All right. So we've got these two little guys, and they are so well mannered, so well behaved.
Hey, look, nice coat too. They got nice coats, and
that is.
Look at them. They look. Dr. Judy, your Rottweilers compare?
Oh, her Rottweiler's got fantastic coat too. I've seen pictures. She and I have talked about it. But these guys are 4 weeks old. They're still nursing. Mama gets triple doses on the Arthrodex to make sure that it's being passed on to the pups. And when we're talking about dogs and allergies, you still want me to hold them up? We had one female that we had to really watch what she ate, because she would get breakouts all around her eyes, around her mouth. And she was allergic to gluten. So that totally changed our feeding program. But she loved her I-26. And she did get adopted out to a home that was looking for someone that's not a puppy. And he started putting her on another just store brand, and she started breaking out. And he's like, what's going on? She's itching. Her eyes are breaking out. And I said, I told you in the beginning, she cannot have that food. You got to be gluten-free, because she does not do well with it. So I bought him a bag of the food that we have, and a bottle of or canister of the Arthrodex. And within 2 weeks, he sent me a picture, and he's like, I guess you're right.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got some fantastically cute little pups over there. What else were you going to tell us, Becca Dukes?
So with our program, if somebody has to move, then we open up the doors where we take the pup back and help find it a new home, or help them find it a new home. And one of our pups, her name was Olive. Her name is now Olivia. has gone to one of my longevity customers in the Redding area of California. And just one thing that I absolutely love about working and doing what we do is being able to help people with their own health, help their pets' health. But in this case, this woman had lost her husband, and now she has a companion. And dogs are some of the best companions. And I just, living now where I can't have one, it's tough.
Well, I know you got a heart of gold, Becca Dukes, and we appreciate you coming on. And let's not allow Becca to cry on camera. It's not going to happen today. All
Nope.
right. Becca, did you want to say something else, or?
No, just Dr. Judy, thank you so much, as you bring so much to the show and helping with more of the scientific, the more detailed stuff that people, they may not know that they need to hear it, but they need to hear it, because we need to be very adamant about what's going on in and around us and what's going into our pets. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Becca. Good to
Just
see you and your puppies.
Just
This little-
real quick, Mary, you're bringing in a question from YouTube? You have multiple questions. We're already well past time. So if you could let us know if you're bringing in a question.
Yes, I'm bringing in a question. We are going quite late. I think we need about 5 shows with Dr. Judy. Dr. Judy, I'll make this very quick for you. I know you're probably quite busy here. We know that we have several products, or at least a couple products with I-26 in them. And we have a YouTube question from Olgak, which says, can a cat be given I-26 powder, and what would the daily dose be? So assuming the person doesn't have the other products with I-26 in them, is there a standard dose for, I guess, an average cat size?
I have not looked up using that product for cats.
Okay.
I have my well-fed and longevity grown grandson here.
Was he on longevity the whole time?
He was 2 years old when I started with longevity.
What's your name?
He's got an interesting story.
Tyler?
His name is actually Sunny.
Sunny.
Funny. Good to meet you, pal.
Say hi. Hi.
Hi.
Mary, did you have another quick question, or?
Well, the other quick question is, this person, her sister-in-law gets Bruce actually. Sister-in-law has a 1-year-old cat. Feeds the cat girl gluten-free food and Arthrodex. Cat has no issues, but the cat has 1 bowel movement a day. Is that okay? That's the question.
Okay, basically you have to go through and look at all the things the cat's getting and try to balance it. So, you need a little bit more information to try to figure out what's going on. In my experience, and my cats are working barn cats. They work for a living. They just about every time they're fed, they go and have a bowel movement.
Okay.
And I think that's typical. We feed ours twice a day, but they're outdoor cats, so they're out hunting all the time. So, and also both with the cats and the dogs, the old dog foods used to have a lot of corn in them, and there would be big stools all over the yard. So depending on how concentrated that food is that you're feeding them, and depending on what it's made up of, how much fiber, how much undigestible material is in it, that's what's going to determine how often they're going to eliminate. Same with people. It makes a big difference what our diet is on how often we are going to the bathroom.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Perfect. Thank you so
Mary.
much.
Thank you, Mary.
Another
Thank
5
you.
hours would be great.
All right. I don't know if we have enough time for you, Keely. Keely, do you have something that might be quick hitting, or what do you think?
Yeah, I do. I have a 5.5-year-old male cat, 10 pounds, was just diagnosed with what they said kidney disease, but really what they found out is he also has renal cysts. This cat is actually fed a canned food, which is beef, chicken, fish, and some vegetables, no grains.
Can't do it now.
What would you suggest?
11%.
Okay, again, you've got to look at the total diet. There are specific things that you want to do if there are kidney issues with a cat. There are certain things that you want to avoid, and it's also a veterinary issue. It's not just a nutrition issue. So you need to be working. Are you working with a veterinarian?
Yes, he is.
Also, right. And I, one of the things I want to always make clear is my entire life as a nutritionist, I have worked with veterinarians. So if someone comes to me and has a nutrition question or an issue, I will say, is it okay? I need to talk to your veterinarian. Are you good with that? If the veterinarian wants to do it, we do it. I'm not going against what a veterinarian or what a doctor or what other people are saying. It's a team. So when there's that kind of a, what you would call a diagnosis, then what we do is we go back and look, okay, what things that we could do nutritionally might help that type of an issue. And there are specific things that can be done. So I apologize for being vague, but and we ask, I do a nutrient profile, I do a diary, what are they getting, how much are they getting of everything. I go through that whole process when I'm working with people and with pets, just to get more background, because things will pop up. And I do have something that I'm going to put together that people could contact me to get, and it's a list of poisons, things that you might find in all the different places. Like if you have Tylenol or aspirin in your purse, a pet might get in there. If you have something under your kitchen sink, they might get in, those kinds of things. I'm going to make that into a PDF because it would be 25 slides. So,
okay, Dr. Judy, is there a way that folks can contact you in the event they have questions they want to email you, or is there,
yes.
What's the best way?
Okay. Dr. Judy Reynolds. It's just DR and then my name, Judy, JUDY REYNOLDS @gmail.com. And in the subject, you have to put D with W or Daily with Doc, so that I know where it's coming from. Okay. I get a lot of emails that I may or may not want, and I don't want to miss one that I do want. So that's the best way to do it.
So just one finishing question. Is the assumption that Orthodex is the 90?
Okay, good question. Dr. Wallach has a total program that he calls the 90. It consists of 3 main things. A concentrated vitamin and mineral, which for people, it's usually Tangy, Tangerine, or a mixture like that has a lot of the minerals, most of the things are in that. Then there's another one that's specific for the macro minerals like calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and things like that. And then there's a third one that takes care of the essential fatty acids. So it's really a 3-part program for people.
Right,
and that's why.
Is that how you relate? Is Orthodex the 90 for the animals without the perpetual, or do you need both?
I would do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you also have to add the fatty acids separately, because you can't combine fatty acids in with the minerals and try to make something out of it. I mean, you'll notice that most vitamin mineral supplements on the shelf do not contain fatty acids, because it's just really hard to chemically mix them and not make them, interact with each other. Make sense?
Thank you, Keely.
Great.
And folks,
Thank you.
if you are interested in any of the products that were mentioned on today's show, please go to dailywithdoc.com or just look in the description where you're watching this program so that we can help you to get the products that you're looking for. And Becca mentioned that she would add the I-26 dog companion for any dogs. It's something that she would do. And we got tons of questions, Dr. Judy, that we did not get to. Marilyn, I think, did put in the chat your contact information. Did we say, is this, I see info at drjudyreynolds.com, but I think
No.
she the other one.
Yeah, I'm not using that one at present. I'm changing my whole website. I changed all of that, so I'm just going to avoid that for right now. So just do the drjudyreynolds@gmail.com. That's the best way to reach me.
Okay. Dr. Judy
Thanks.
Reynolds at gmail.com.
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Judy, for taking
Thanks,
your time
everybody.
and taking the extra time. Oh, but wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm so sorry. There was a story that Sunny was going to give us. Is there something that we missed out on?
Oh, he came and he left. But let me just quickly tell you Sonny's story. Sonny's my grandson, my daughter's son, and she was 38 and had not had children. She's worked with animals her whole life. She has a bachelor's degree in animal science and worked with vets and things, whatever, has worked with animals her whole life. And she tells us she's pregnant. We get to come see the ultrasound. We're all excited. And then at 21 weeks, she had to go to the hospital and she was in labor, and they had to keep her in for 2 weeks till they basically kept her in until 23 weeks and 6 days. And then he was born at 1 pound, 6 ounces.
Mm.
And it was a story of absolute willpower and prayer. And, you know, my daughter, being that I've been a nutritionist, she knew a lot about nutrition and all that. And it was just, I mean, it's a miracle. It's really a miracle. But he had some things. He had to have, it's fairly common when they're born that young to have issues with the development of the eyes and the retina. He had to have some surgeries on the back of his eyes. The glasses he was wearing are actually, what they do is they make the outside, they make the peripheral vision blurry on purpose because he has a lazy eye. It's not a huge deal, but he doesn't even need glasses for actual to see. They're just trying to correct that lazy eye. He just got those glasses. But he's very healthy. Number of the pictures that I showed were of him playing with the different animals. So we got another animal lover in the family. But yeah, his story is very extreme and very amazing. So, and I'm so glad that he was almost 2 years old when I heard Dr. Wallach on Coast to Coast and started, you know, as soon as I heard about him, I just went crazy, got all his books and just started really, because I really believe in it. I was formulating feeds. I was keeping track of what everybody else was doing in the horse feed industry. And I can't believe I hadn't heard of him, because actually I'm working here in Missouri, which is where he was originally. He went to school at Mizzou, you know, and with all his books and all his fame and everything, I was really surprised that I hadn't heard of him. But then once I did, it was at the right time because we, you know, we really had a lot of stuff to do. So anyway.
Well, I'm thankful that Sonny's doing great. I'm thankful very much so for you for putting this together for us today. Thank you for Ann and Ann B and our guests and Becca Dukes and Marilyn, who is getting everything typed in. You know, it's hard work to type, folks. And she's got the toughest job during the show, keeping track. And we really appreciate everything you do, Marilyn. And Albert, my buddy in South Africa, just kicking back and just making the descriptions and making sure that we have a good recap of the show, so that if you're looking it up and you're trying to search what we did on the show, Albert's indexing of that is going to help us with that. And then we got good Sherry, our good friend, who is making sure that everything's set up prior to the show starting, so that when we go live, all the descriptions are there. We're on the right platforms. We're everything is going right. And I appreciate Sherry. I'll miss you tomorrow. And Mary, we got our good friend Mary who's on with us, making sure that the platforms are a safe place. Nobody's beating each other up and bringing in the questions from the platforms. And we appreciate you, Mary. And Ruth Ellen, tying everybody together, herding us like cattle, herding us like cats, making sure that we're all in order and streaming out the system using that powerful computer. And we appreciate you, Ruth Ellen. And that is our show for today, unless someone's got a comment. Dr. Judy, take us home.
Thanks, everybody, and go out and enjoy those pets. And we are all here to help you if you have questions. Again, we just like to get a little more information, and we can really do a deep dive. But once you get the concepts figured out, you can go on your way with your program, and we're all helping each other.
That we are. Be good to each other. See you tomorrow with Pharmacist Ben.
This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach.